Big Gamer out here. How are you guys doing today? I'm super. Thanks for asking. Hey guys, today I wanted to give you a quick review of Space Rift on the PlayStation VR and kind of give you an idea whether or not you think you should be going out and buying this. So at the moment, if you're a PlayStation Plus member, you actually do save a few bucks on the asking price. So if you're in the States, you save about $5, and if you're in the UK, you save about £3. So this actually puts it down to, kind of a £12-13 in the UK and sub $20 in the US. So if you are going to pick this game up, I do recommend you do it now, especially if you're a PlayStation Plus member, because you will save a bit of money there. Now this is actually episode 1, so there will be more episodes coming of Space Rift, and that's one of the things that I've got that kind of hold it back a little bit, is if this has 2, 3, 4 episodes, this will actually become more expensive than a lot of the premium titles on PlayStation VR, things like Eve Valkyrie or Riggs or something like that. So does it really have what it takes to be better than these games? So let's start with what the game is. Basically, it's a space sim. It's a little bit like a mining sim as well. So you've got a craft and you've got to go around and you've got to mine ores and stuff, and you get into gunfights, so weapon systems on the ship. The premise of the game is pretty decent. It kind of builds itself up to be a grand space opera, not dissimilar to things like Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek. But the way it actually carries the story off isn't the greatest. The voice acting in the game is subpar. The character models in the game are super ropey, guys. Some of these guys, they literally look like Thunderbird's puppets, which for the asking price for one episode is a little bit much. The feeling of being in the VR space is there. It's extremely vivid when you're actually out in space and when you're flying around in your ship. But unfortunately, that immersion is broke when you come into indoor areas. So the game actually starts above a planet with you looking into a bedroom, and that just seems to be floating in the middle of space. I understand the concept of what they're going for. It's almost like a puppet show where you can kind of look around and look inside it. But the geometrics, like the geometry of what they've built inside there, is really, really simple. It looks like it was done on a budget on Unity or something, and it doesn't look the greatest. So let's talk about the gameplay for a little bit, guys. So as I was saying, you've got the option to kind of upgrade your ship and go in these indoor areas and talk to people, but that stuff isn't the most engaging. But actually, when you're out in space, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. So movement, as with a lot of free-moving VR games, especially space ones, things like barrel rolls and turning at high velocity will make you a little bit queasy. Now you can get used to this fairly quickly, and luckily when you actually come out of your ship, it's much more point-to-point movement, similar to something like a Batman Arkham VR where there's no free movement. But actually when you're in your ship, like I say, you do have free movement. After movement, the gameplay is kind of broken up into combat and into mining. So with the mining, usually given a set point, you kind of jet off and you pick up resources. Now these can be based around your missions, or you can also use these to kind of gain credits and upgrade your ship later on. And with the combat, it's simple dogfighting mechanics really. And what I do like is it doesn't rely too heavily on things like lock-on. You can turn your ship with one analog stick and kind of trace the movement of the bad guys. And then with your head, you're actually using the VR tracking, you can kind of target at finer points. It's not unsimilar to Star Fox on the Wii U, but in this case it actually is a lot more accurate than that, and it feels a little bit better because you're using your natural vision to kind of track the targets. And despite the fact that the lasers can feel a little bit pathetic, the actual act of tracking your enemy and taking them out is fairly fun. So the big question is, guys, is this actually worth your time and money? Now, as far as the value proposition goes, for the time that you can spend with episode 1 and the price they're charging currently if you're a PlayStation Plus member, it's actually not too bad value for money. But the problem is, over the space of several episodes, like I said, this will get expensive, and it just doesn't have the production values to withhold that. Characters are a bit wishy-washy. The story, I can't see it holding over several episodes. The characters aren't selling it, the voice acting's not selling it, and there's the lack of production values when you're actually outside of your ship. So at the moment, guys, I'm going to say this is probably not worth your time. I think the game is not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but we're looking at like a 4 out of 10 for this one, guys, and probably better things you can spend your money on. So if you liked what you saw today, guys, if you want more VR content, feel free to like, comment and subscribe.